And now here are the selections for Friday, December the 17th. I'm going to make both halves of the early daily double. In the first race, it's a claiming race going 6 furlongs. My selection is Fly South. Fly South set the pace from the gate all the way to the wire before being out-knotted in his last. What's interesting is that that race was for $6,000, and today he's moved up the claiming ladder to $10,000. I'll take that as a sign of confidence, so it's Fly South for me in the opener. The second race is a maiden claimer on the turf going a flat mile. My selection is Giant's Kisses. Giant's Kisses ran a sub 12-second final fraction in his last race, and that automatically qualifies him in my book as a win candidate on the turf. But what's interesting is, in his two-back race, when he was at Tampa, he was pulled up and didn't even finish the race. Off of a layoff, he came back on the main track and was beaten over 18 lengths. And yet, in spite of those two races, his last race, he was the 9-5 favorite. I don't know what everybody else is seeing, but apparently he's pretty good, and when he just missed in his last, he proved that the bettors were correct. So for me, it's Giant Kisses in the second. I'll pass the third, I'll pass the fourth. In the fifth, we go back on the turf for maiden special weights. Again, we're going a flat mile. My selection is El Benedante. And the reason that I like this horse is because in his last race, he opened up on the turn and was 3 clear into the stretch, and then was overtaken by Michelle's Trip. Normally I don't like horses like that, but I looked up Michelle's Trip to see what she'd done since then. Michelle's Trip came back off that turf victory and ran on the dirt and wasn't really anything to speak of. But then in her next race, she came back on the turf in Allowance Company, and she was a clear winner. Granted, she had a good trip that day, but so El Benedante comes off this race, is now a key race if you look at Michelle's Trip in terms of turf racing. So she'll be my pick at a good price, I think, because there are some others in here who will take some money. I will mention a horse by the name of Frontside. I'm really scared to death of Frontside. In fact, I had originally listed Frontside as my top pick. She's never been on the turf. She's a second-time starter for Jose Pinchin. He wins with 21% of his second-time starters at an ROI that's unbelievable, $9.65. So if Frontside upsets El Benedante, I'm going to be most unhappy. I'll pass the sixth, and in the seventh race, it's a maiden claimer going 5 furlongs on the main track. My selection is Casino Mick. I think Casino Mick is a standout in here, so I will triple the investment. He'd run 3 consecutive races in Maiden Special Weight Company. He ran 3rd, 2nd, and then in his last race he ran 3rd. Today he drops down in the maiden claimer 25,000. That in and of itself qualifies him as a win candidate. But what really drew my attention is in his last he ran 3rd to Casino Gambler, who has since gone on to be a multiple stake winner and will be one of the choices in this weekend's Grade 1 Cash Call Futurity out at Hollywood Park. The only problem with Casino Mick is the fact that he's on the rail, he's a stalker, so he's going to have to get a good trip to get himself off the rail to be able to rally outside of horses. But in the 7th today, it's Casino Mick, triple the investment. In the 8th race, I like Far From Shy. Again, I will triple the investment as I think Far From Shy is heads and shoulders above the competition. She shipped down to South Florida from Chicago, where she ran at Arlington Park for the top connections of Frank Calabrese and Nick Canani. And first start off the shelf here in South Florida, she went off the 6-5 favorite and was tons the best on the turf that day. She's been off since early October, but today she's back on the turf at 8 furlongs. It's a great distance for her. Everything looks like a go to me. Her buyer speed figures, her class, everything looks good. That last win was in Allowance Company. Here's the only question I have. Today she's running in a restricted $25,000 claiming race. Okay, it's restricted to 4 and up who have won 3 races or less, or to open to 3-year-olds. So this horse is a 3-year-old, so she's got multiple wins, so she qualifies, but kind of bothersome that instead of moving up to the next allowance level, she drops down into the tag, but heads and shoulders above the rest. In the 8th, Far From Shy for me. In the 9th race today, I will pass the race. It's a starter allowance. And finally, my last selection is in the last race of the day, the 10th, which is a maiden claimer going 6 furlongs. My selection is Holy Bling. Holy Bling looks to be the speed of the race, and I think he'll go wire to wire. In his last race, it was his first off a layoff, and the first time he dropped down to the $16,000 level. He had a clear lead after a quarter, he was dueling in a half, and he faded to 3rd that day. That day, he was passed by Mary Mary Lynn, who went on to be 2nd, and Mary Mary Lynn was over 8 lengths clear of Hey Bling. So you might wonder, why am I on Hey Bling? Well, Mary Lynn is 0 for 20 now. I think the reason that she was able to run by Hey Bling is because he was short on conditioning. Today there's no other speed. He should be loose on the lead. I think he'll run softer fractions. I think he'll have a stronger final quarter because A, there won't be as much pressure, and B, because he'll run softer fractions. So I think we'll get a bit of a price today. Hey Bling in the finale. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll take a look at our selections. On Saturday the feature race is the William L. McKnight with two-time winner, graded stakes winner, grade 1 winner, Precious Passion as the feature horse. So we'll come back and see how we did today and some selections for tomorrow.